In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro held a meeting with members of the Bolivarian national militias in the framework of the 194th anniversary of the passing of liberator Simon Bolivar to immortality. In Palestine, Hamas urged the international community, including the Arab nations, to stop international silence, complicity, and the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. And China is building the world's largest airport on an artificial island in the coastal city of Dalian, Liaoning province. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro held a meeting with members of the Bolivarian national militias in the framework of the 194th anniversary of the passing of liberator Simon Bolivar to immortality. In his remarks, the president assured the people is willing to keep Bolivar's legacy alive, for his role in fighting against colonialism in Venezuela and Latin America, for being a creator and guide of the military thinking of Venezuela. President Maduro also called for empowering communities and organizing the everyday people and empowering Latin America in honor of Bolivar's struggle for the most dispossessed classes, for the union of all America, for the internationalism and anti-imperialism that mark his trajectory.
194 years from today, we say goodbye to the greatest, the one who gave everything he had, his body, his life, even his wealth, because he was born in this city, in a wealthy household. But he gave up his wealth for the freedom of the peoples of America. And a day like today, 194 years ago, the good soul of the people's liberators, liberated by his sword, moved when, by running the news of the passing of the liberator father. But he didn't die. He was still present, as Miguel Ángel Asturias poet would say, watching the destiny of its people.
The Venezuelan president also highlighted the importance of taking care of the legacy of the liberators and founders of America.
We're not only taking care of our wealth, our riches, which is ours, it doesn't belong to anybody else, but we are also taking care of the spiritual wealth, richness that we can inherit to the future generation and show it to humanity. We are taking care of the spiritual, political, and military legacy of the liberators of America, of those who founded an entire continent, of those who built popular armies, revolutionary armies. It's so great what we take care of, what we treasure. But the best way to take care of something is building, making, developing ideas.
In Venezuela, several authorities met to begin preparations for the second chapter of the historical Bolivarian blog. The event was attended by the Minister of Planning, Ricardo Menéndez, the Minister of Youth, Grecia Colmenares, and other members of the presidential cabinet who seek to define the roadmap for the process of continuity of the blog. During the meeting, Menéndez also highlighted that during the first Congress, grassroots assemblies were promoted in communities throughout the national territory. The concept of the historic blog is marked by the original Bolivarian project that rejects colonialism and imperialism.
Today is a very important day, a preparatory day for the second chapter of the historical block. I would like to say for a moment what it means to be gathered here to prepare this second chapter. Above all, because part of our culture, of our schemes, from the revolutionary point of view, we do not meet as a sort of improvisation in each one of the issues we address. When we debated the first chapter in the first moment, we held grassroots assemblies all over the national territory. These assemblies were not mediated by anything or anybody, they were held as grassroots assemblies.
The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela rejects the coercive measures against Venezuelan officials which the government of Canada intends to impose. In a statement, the Venezuelan government said the move confirms Canada's servile role with the imperial interest of the United States. The statement further said that these actions are nothing more than a failed attempt to put pressure on Venezuela, demonstrating the humiliation and international disrespect of the Canadian government. Finally, while Canada bows to Washington's orders, the Republic of Venezuela remains firm, sovereign, and unbreakable. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The Hamas Islamic Resistance Movement urged the international community, including the Arab nations, to stop international silence, complicity, and the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. Hamas denounced the latest violent Israeli bombings on Shahibar School, west of Gaza, killing 12 civilians. The movement further recalled the occupation have massacred at least 30 people in Havalia refugee camp. Moreover, the resistance raised attention to the ongoing Israeli siege of northern Gaza for 34 consecutive days, which it has claimed to violate international laws with the active complicity of the U.S. administration. Activists from Paraguay mobilized on Tuesday to the headquarters of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to demand the government to take actions to stop the Israeli genocide against the Palestinian people. At the site, demonstrators handed a legal analysis report on the genocidal actions of the Zionist regime in the Gaza Strip, with a copy of the document also being delivered at the Embassy of Israel. In addition, the mobilization denounced the stance of the Paraguayan state on the Israeli aggression in Palestine, which has ignored the demands of the international community and human rights organizations for a permanent ceasefire. Furthermore, the Asunción government recently inaugurated its embassy in Jerusalem.
The Paraguayan state ignores the demands of the international community, even denying or ignoring resolutions of international bodies, both the United Nations Security Council and the International Criminal Court or the International Court of Justice, even voting against resolutions calling for a ceasefire, the release of hostages by the General Assembly and also by the Human Rights Council. Then we see that the Paraguayan state is ignoring these international resolutions and is not contributing with concrete actions that could put an end to the genocide in Gaza.
On Tuesday, 5 Palestinian families sued the U.S. State Department over Washington's billions in military aid to Israel, demanding the enforcement of U.S. rules to curb arms flow due to the allegations of human rights abuses. The complaint filed on Tuesday, and to which the State Department has 60 days to respond, calls for the implementation of the so-called Liahi law, which the plaintiffs, and right groups say Israel has been illegally exempted from. The law prohibits the provision of security assistance to units facing credible allegations of human rights abuses. Since the start of Israel's genocidal war against Hamas in October 2023, the United States has enacted legislation to provide more than $12.5 billion in direct military aid to its strategic ally. In Iran, the leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, warned that the United States and Israel are wrong to believe that the resistance has failed and stated that the Zionist regime is the one that will be eradicated. The leader of the Islamic Revolution has assured that despite the crimes and aggressions committed by Israel in the Gaza Strip and Lebanon, the resistance remains strong. However, he affirmed that Iran will stand firm with the fighters of Palestine and Hezbollah, in addition to offering all possible support and assistance. In this sense, Khamenei pointed out that the spirit of Syed Hassan Nasrallah is alive, only his physical presence was removed, but his ideals continue.
The U.S. regime and the Zionist entity as well as some of its allies are wrong to believe that the resistance will end, which is a belief that is completely wrong, and the one who will be eliminated will be the Israeli entity.
China is building the world's largest airport on an artificial island in the coastal city of Dalian, Liaoning province. The new airport will exceed the size of Hong Kong and Kansai's international airports, which are 12.48 and 10.5 square kilometers respectively. However, this one will be the first airport on the Chinese territory to be built on an artificial island and will have 4 runways and a 900,000 square meter terminal. In this sense, the organization Airports Council International reported that the terminals will be designed to initially receive 43 million passengers a year, and in the future will be able to handle up to 80 million passengers annually. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Uruguay, more than 10 unions of the Industrial Confederation held a strike to demand an end to layoffs and better pay for workers. On Tuesday, the unions of the Confederation of Dairy and Textile Industries demonstrated in front of the Ministry of Labor in the capital city, demanding an end to the layoffs of large families in national industrial companies. The workers also protested against the lack of a public policy to promote the industrialization of the country. Moreover, they urged the authorities to show solidarity with the workers who have been laid off without being paid for their working time, denouncing that the companies are refusing to negotiate a fair solution.
Firstly, we continue to demand an industrial productive development plan that we have been demanding for years. Secondly, we are demanding to be able to negotiate especially the restructuring of the different factories, against the violation of what is happening in several factories that belong to this branch of activity. And thirdly, that is why we are here today. We are once again against the violation of the executive power regarding the discount of a negative corrective that was made in the month of July, and now they want to continue doing it in January.
In Colombia, President Petro denounced a parliamentary coup attempt against his government planned for next year and also called on the people to be ready to defend democracy. The Colombian head of state referred to the dismissal of a legal action he filed, which sought to halt the investigation of the National Electoral Council (CNE) against him. Petro asserted that this fact proves that a parliamentary coup against his administration would be carried out next year. Likewise, the Colombian leader called on the people to be ready to defend the popular vote and with it, the democracy and sovereignty of the country. The U.S. Geological Survey registered Tuesday a 7.4 magnitude earthquake in the South Pacific archipelago of Vanuatu, triggering a tsunami warning. The earthquake occurred 30 kilometers west of the coast of Port Vila, the country's capital. So far, authorities have not reported any deaths or injuries. The U.S. Forecasting Service warned that smaller waves are expected in some nations close to the Pacific Ocean. In this regard, the Defense Minister of New Zealand, Mark Mitchell, said that the government is closely following the situation in the archipelago, noting that the nation is ready to send the necessary aid. In Mozambique, the National Institute of Risk and Disaster Management, INGD, reported 34 deaths from Chido storm, which battered the northern domestic region on Sunday. The institute stressed that the 3-year-old girl was among the fatal victims, warning that the aforesaid death toll is likely to skyrocket. The entity further specified that the storm made over 34,000 Mozambican families lose their houses, as the weather phenomenon brought winds of around 260 kilometers per hour. Furthermore, authorities announced the destruction of schools, health facilities, and fishing boats as well. Likewise, the Electricidad de Mozambique, EDM, updated that about 200,000 customers are still without power.
I took my children, and while we were running, I saw other families falling due to the force of the wind, and others dodging things that fell from the houses due to the wind. People were lucky that the zinc sheets didn't cut them into pieces. Children couldn't stop crying. I saw children running away, but I didn't see where they ran to. In the end, thank God, I realized all the children are here at school. There are old people here, women and children who are hungry.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.